So American football are back with American football. Again, what's your favourite sport? American football? It's been 100 years. What are you doing? Give an album a name for once. What do I call this thing? American football or LP4? At this point, it's feeling a little less stylistic and more just like, it'll do. Anyway, this album, it's a bit of a weird one. I think I do actually like it quite a bit. Like everything it's trying to do, I respect it. It feels like a really mature, lyrically heavy album. Sonically, it's really different, pushing those atmospheres. A bit of a post-rock direction with some synthy vibes to it. But at the same time, there's something there that just doesn't really stick with me the way I wish it would. It was quite hard to pinpoint what it was. To be fair, I haven't listened to a lot of their music. I wouldn't say I was a connoisseur or anything, so I'm only going on what I've heard in the past. And from what I've actually heard, this feels drastically quite different. Feeling a lot less emo and a bit more, I don't know, shoegazy, math rocky, I don't know. What stands out to me on this album though is the atmosphere. It's kind of beautiful. The instrumentation is a highlight across this album. And the issue I came to determine was the vocals. The vocal performance doesn't quite have that energy or drama that previous records might have had. It often trails off, the commitment doesn't feel there, and ultimately feels like it's being left behind the music. I'm about to contradict myself here a little bit, so bear with. Take the opening track, Man Overboard. The sounds are quite lush. You have this dusty drum kit played over this like infinitely sustained pad. When Mike's vocals come in here, I actually think they sound pretty good. But as the song goes on and it builds with all these sounds and textural layers and instrumentation, the vocals start to take a little bit of a backseat, especially in that last leg when there's this whirlwind of sound and everything's so dramatic and big. He's just kind of feels lost in the middle there. It feels like there's a lot of ambient influence on this album. There's a few points where I realized I'd kind of just drifted into another track and not really realized. It's all very level, which I do get, and I do think it's quite intentional. It feels very background noise. It feels like an album that's less about the individual songs but the overall sound. Everything's slow, everything feels somewhat restrained. Take songs like
Desdemona
or Lullabye, for example. But you know, fortunately there are standout songs on top of all of this. Take, for example, Bad Moons, which is probably my favourite track on the album, and it's also the longest, running at just over 8 minutes. It's good, it builds nicely, it has this cool atmosphere. There's a really nice use of sound effects with those like playing sounds. I'm getting invested in the story that's being told here. Some other standout tracks are Wake Her Up featuring Wisp. It's more upbeat. I found myself sort of head bopping to the melody. The guitars are high pitched and they wail with great contrast. And then you have Wisp's vocals, which sound really serene and nice. And then you have this silence and this lone saxophone playing out near the end, and you think you've come on to a new song, but no, it's actually more like an outro. And honestly, I wouldn't have been mad if they made a whole song with just this saxophone and Wisp's vocals. I think it's worth mentioning here the mix of the album, because it is, in my opinion, really, really good. I enjoy so much of what's happening. There's a lot of detail in the songs. Nothing sounds too muddy or lost. If anything, it just sounds a bit too dreamy, maybe. I've heard a lot of people describe this album as background music, and they're kind of spot on. I think you really have to sort of sit back, take your time, and really listen to what's being said and the music to really get this album, because the themes are actually quite heavy. It feels like there's a lot of regret, heartache, mental health issues going on here, but it's delivered in such a sort of low-key way that it kind of becomes misheard. You can tell that it's quite personal and lots of meaning here, but it kind of just passes through you like background music, right? It feels like they've gone for something a bit more subtle and removed. But in doing that, I do think they've lost a bit of what made them stand out in the past. As the album comes to a close, we get No Soul to Save. Do you need a hug at this point? And to be honest, I actually quite like it as an ender. It feels like a conclusion. And actually, I think the vocals work really well here. And I quite like these choir vocal layers he's put in as well. The drums are solid and the guitars are so bright and delicious. The melody as well I'm really flowing with. Look, I'm not saying that they should just make LP1 over and over again, of course not. But I do think there's a middle ground that they could potentially step in. It's, you know, it feels like a long mood piece, which actually I think a lot of people are gonna love. Look, I'm no stranger to love. I'm no stranger to synths, ambient, okay? But if you're into that sort of slow, reflective, sad kind of music, you're definitely going to get something out of this, I think. But yeah, it's not a bad album at all. And there's definitely a few songs here that I'm going to come back to. Maybe it will grow on me. I can see that happening in the future. But right now, it's kind of hit and miss for me. But yeah, overall, I would easily give this album a 7.5 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought down below. Am I wrong or right? Let me know. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, whatever you like. And yeah, hopefully catch you on the next one. Always a pleasure.